article is an avoidable battle. Ukraine conflict draws away West focus from China. Vladimir Putin's decision to go on the offensive, whatever the rationale, has only one end, a regime change. A one-liner from US saying that NATO's expansion will address Russia's security interest will provide the impetus to end in current conflict. The trigger for the conflict has been the rise of anti-Russia, Putin, and pro-Europe lobby in the Ukraine, led by President Vladimir Zelensky, with the tacit support of the US and the West. The situation became deeply polarized after the battle lines were drawn in 2015, with Ukraine's breakaway Donbas region seeking a merger with Russia after Crimea's unification with later. Russia has over the years quite correctly questioned the relevance of NATO, a grouping of Cold War era, and its expansion eastwards. This is why is the US doggedly pursuing Cold War era strategies against Russia when the demon on the block is China? Whatever the outcome of this East-West conflict, it heralds a transformation of current world order. Geopolitics will never be the same, especially with Germany and Japan announcing militarization initiatives, polarization in Europe, and strengthening of anti-US nexus of China, Russia, Turkey, and Iran. It is too early to draw lessons, but a matter of concern is that once again the tension of US and West has been diverted from China, the main adversary to a war that should not taken place. China has learning lessons from the US functioning and handling of global challenges, to put it simplistically, to see what it takes to be a leading world power. China is now once again witness to the inaction and vulnerabilities of the US and a developed world in the face of adversity. In the current conflict, the ineptitude of the US NATO to support Ukraine with the boots on the ground is bound to embolden China in its nefarious design to annex Taiwan. This could also lead to increased hostility by China in the resolution of land disputes with the neighboring countries as well as in the South and East China Seas. Though the nuclear alert is issued by Russia seems to be overkill, it highlights the danger of the indiscriminate use of nuclear resources by autocratic leadership. It needs to be noted with the concern that US, despite repeated efforts, has been unable to get China to come aboard nuclear arms limitation agreement. Another issue of the concern is racial double standard and prejudice. There is a simmering feelings of white supremacy, whether in the remarks of journalists in the Western media or implied in the statement of leading political figures from Europe. For India, the greatest lesson is that it will have to meet the Chinese challenges on its own. There is no likelihood of the US or any other nations getting involved in India's fight with China. Okay, next article that we are going to see is Russian strike on the West Ukraine base kills 35. War taken to NATO's doorstep. Russian missile attack on Uvoriv base brought the Russian war in Ukraine to just 25 km away from NATO members Poland. This has been seen as a significant escalation by NATO, which has conducted several drills from the base. The site has also been used to train the Ukrainian military personnel with the help of NATO instructors. The drill and training conducted by NATO members at Uvoriv had irritated the Moscow, which has long complained of Western military alliances expanding activities closer to Russia. Okay. No important article here. Next one is how Asia views the war. Some of the India's neighbor voted against Russia at UN General Assembly. Some obtained from history to current economics and geopolitics. A look at what is behind their respective positions. Afghanistan, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal supported the resolution against Russia in the International General Assembly. Bangladesh and Pakistan Sri Lanka abstained. Nepal, which is a member of United Nations Human Rights Council, also voted for Human Rights Council resolution to set up in the independent investigation in Russia's alleged violation of human rights in Ukraine. Colombo had been hoping its economic meltdown would be arrested this year. The surge in oil price due to sanctions on Russia has made India's $500 million line of credit to Sri Lanka for fuel purchase look inadequate. Russia is also a major buyer of Sri Lankan tea, and Colombo can continue selling only if it can find a way around the sanctions. Okay. While these are likely reasons for Sri Lankan abstention, some in Colombo have questioned this neutrality, drawing comparisons with the 1971 India-Pakistan war that led to the liberation of Bangladesh, when Sri Lanka sided with Pakistan, gave its forceful Air Force refueling facilities. India had no rights to violate the territorial integrity of Pakistan. Strong self-interest lay behind the position taken by Sri Lanka in 1971. The essential threats to Sri Lanka was seen as coming from India. Pakistan's embrace of Russia. Pakistan's decision to obtain at United Nations General Assembly. Its ties Russia were built over the last decade as response to tension with US during this 2-decade-long Afghan war. Imran Khan have not spoken even once. Pakistan hoped to build new axis with China and Russia that will charge of Afghanistan and Eurasia. Bangladesh's abstention can be seen in the light of tension between US and the Sheikh Hasina government and Biden's administration December 2021 decision to sanction the Rapid Action Battalion on elite military deployed against jihadist group for its alleged human rights violation. On the other hand, Dhaka remembers with the gratitude that Moscow helped Indian militarily during 1971 war, while US sided with Pakistan. Russia is now constructing Dhaka's first nuclear power plant at Ropur. Sandwiched between India and China, both of which abstained from voting on the United Nations General Assembly resolution against Russia, and raking domestic debate in the country on whether to accept the $500 million development grants from US, Nepal's equivocal stand, Russia seemed to reflect its own geopolitical difficulties. Nepal has just emerged from a huge domestic political standoff that included violent street protest over $500 million US development grants for electricity transmission lines. Okay. Next one is Bhutan, Afghanistan, Maldives. Bhutan, which is usually viewed as an Indian satellite but which has in fact been inserting an independent foreign policy for a few years now, also voted against Russia. If we go by some of the geopolitical logic of Russian insecurity, people can all invade the homes of neighbors they don't like or have dispute with. Russia's logic in invading Ukraine is that if you are big power, have certain insecurities, real or imagined, then you can ride roughshod over the sovereignty of a smaller country. The Maldives, which signed a defense agreement with the US last year, which was under the Solia government, has shed the previous Yemen government China's tilt in its foreign policy, has also voted against Russia. Its foreign minister Abdullah Shahid is the president of United Nations General Assembly. Afghanistan continues to be represented at the UN by its ousted government, voted against Russia. Okay. How war can hit semiconductor supply. Supply of semiconductors, an essential component of electronics, is once again threat of amid Ukraine conflict. Supply has plummeted as a result of disruption caused by COVID-19. Okay. Why is there a shortage in semiconductors now? The pandemic and lockdown across the world that forced the chip making facilities in countries including Japan, South Korea, China and US. A key feature in chip shortage is almost always. How is Russia-Ukraine conflict contributing to this shortage now? According to a report by Moody's Analytics, palladium and neon are the two resources that are key to the production of semiconductor chips. Given that Russia supplies over 40% of the world's supply of palladium, and whereas Ukraine produces 70% of global supply of neon. Why are neon and palladium important for chip making? Neon gas is used in the process of photolithography, which is most common method of fabricating integrated circuits. Specifically, neon gas is used in the laser machines that carve the integrated circuits. But for the use of neon gas in the semiconductor industry, the gas has to reach 99.99% purity level, which make it a rarity. Okay, palladium has many uses in the semiconductor and electronic manufacturing. It is used to coat the electrodes that help control flow of electricity, and then plating of microprocessors and printed circuit boards, and essential process of making chips in the chip making. Okay. Next, the letter Z as a statement across Russia. What does it signify? The letter, a symbolic form of letter Z of the Roman alphabet, which started to appear first as a sign painted in white on Russian tanks and military vehicles as they prepared to roll into the Ukraine, have become graphic rally point of invasion. What the Z means? The Art newspaper has reported that Russian Ministry of Defense explained on Instagram that Z represents number of slogans that begin with Russian word for ZA, that is for victory, for peace, as well as other phrases started with the letter Z. Okay, that's all about the article. Next one is fertilizer likely to hike subsidy bill, but top mop may keep a deficit in check. A key raw material for manufacturing of urea comprising nearly 70% of the total cost of producing urea. Russia and Belarus are the world number 2 and 3 producers of MOP. Fertilizer is quite high, and MOP is a nutrient that is fully imported. International crude oil price shot up to 14-year high, that is $140 per barrel early last week before the retracting close to $112. Survey 2021-2022 had projected price in range of $70 to $75 barrel for next year. Crude oil import for nearly 20% of the country's import bill. Next one is US majors still dominating cards payment ecosystem, and homegrown costs gain ground. Sanction-led withdrawal of card payments networks like Visa, MasterCard from Russia throws light on the dominance of US-based companies in the global payment ecosystem. In India itself, top 2 UPI payment apps like Walmart owned PhonePe and Google Pay, which is another major mode of payments in the country, is also dominated by American companies with Visa and MasterCard together. The withdrawal of services from Russia by these companies means that any card issued by the bank globally on these networks will not work anymore in Russia. Interestingly, the card space has layers to it, with the scale tipped in the favor of foreign players. According to January 2021 report by RBI, 60.36 crore cards issued, and NPCI RuPay card has had more 60% in number of card issued as of November 30, 2020. Okay. Domestic card operator RuPay has emerged as the biggest challenger to US majors Visa and MasterCard. That is what we are seeing. That's all.